There we go. There we go. So as we begin, our setting of the intention is always to build a community in balance with the masculine and feminine energies. We aspire to end generational trauma in our communities through healing and growth.
Yes.
Is and always, right? The
Right,
intention.
right.
That's the intention for us.
But just really quick, so ending generational trauma, that showed up like multiple times throughout the week. And a couple of brothers that I spoke to, I don't know if they're on the call or not, but that came up multiple times because we talked about, we are our ancestors' dream, right? We are our ancestors' dream, where we are in a place where we know better.
Yeah.
And when you know better, we have a obligation to our ancestors to do better. And what do we do going forward for the next generations to come about? So there's a lot of the work that we're doing. We talk about it's such a blessing that we can be in this stage that we are in our life where we are healing because we can pass that along to our seeds and the next generations to come. So yeah, that just showed up for me. Yeah.
We set the collective intention like that, right? There's a lot of energy behind that. So
yeah,
makes sense that it's showing up for everyone. So you've got me some greetings in the chat too. Greetings all. So if you'd like to at this time unmute so that we can speak into the call our affirmation. So we'll do that as we always do with a call and repeat.
We call and repeat.
Okay.
All right. I am open to the wisdom within me.
I am
open to the wisdom within me.
I embrace the path of self-discovery.
I embrace
the path
self-discovery.
of self-discovery.
I am ready to strengthen my bonds with others.
I am ready to strengthen my
bond with others.
Together, we embark on this sacred journey.
Together, we embark on this sacred journey.
Ashe,
Ashe,
ashe.
amen.
Ashe.
Okay, so before we go on, I guess we could give a quick overview of where we are within our text, I guess within the book that we're studying, right? Man, Heal Thyself, and also Sacred Woman. So, James, did you want to speak first? What was the read that that you guys were all moving through this past week?
So, as I was saying, this was a really, for me, it was a very important week. This was the central man of heightened sensitivity. And for the brothers that was on the call and the homework that we had to do, it was about emotions, right? It was about us as kings connecting with emotion, which we know is a challenge. We acknowledge that, we understand due to environments, modeling, so many just blockages that was given to us from birth. It's hard sometimes for us, not sometimes, it's hard for us to connect with our true emotions. And I said this to the brothers on the call, and I can remember my father, and many of them echoed this too, about what you crying for? Why are you showing emotion? What's that going to do? Blocking, you building a blockage to suppress your normal or your emotions that you naturally feel. From an early age, I was taught to push that down, right? The world doesn't want to see that, so you got to be a man, you got to be strong. So this Arit was a lot about that. And it was about really connecting with being vulnerable. So how can we show up authentically who we are and be vulnerable to be your truest self? The thing that was important about that was, and it talked about this, which I felt was really true, only when you can be vulnerable to be your truest self and attach yourself to your senses and your emotions, then you will be able to make a true connection with your partner.
Okay.
right? To be in balance with your divine masculine and divine femininity, to understand that balance and really connect with your emotions, that is the divine connection that you will then have with your partner. It opens up doors to true intimacy, right? That word intimacy, a lot of us, and I'll just speak for myself. So
He's about to out y'all.
Yeah, I'm just gonna speak for myself. I'm just gonna speak for myself. So intimacy was very important because for me, I know I had a picture of what intimacy looked like, right? Especially before this journey. And now that I look at it, my vision was definitely skewed and blurred as what I thought intimacy was. And this Arit was very important to that because when you connect spiritually and you dive down in yourself to connect to your emotions and you open that door of true authentic to be authentic, and then when you push that up, that intimacy level between us, it's emotional, it's physical, it's mental, and it's spiritual. So when you connect those, now you get different types of intimacies, right? There's an emotional intimacy, there's a spiritual intimacy, there's a physical, obviously, intimacy. And I feel that's where I was at most of all, the physical intimacy. That's what my picture was. I wasn't focused on the other intimacies, which is now I realize which is the truest connections, because it's not just about the physical.
Right.
The connection is spiritual, it's mental, it's emotional. The physical is, to me, the last part of it. But yeah, so during this retreat, we talked about with ourselves, learning how to be the lightest of being. So we talked about, can you remember a time when you was young and just feeling like free? The joy, the playfulness, just running around. You don't even know where you're going, but the thought of newfound ways or treasures or something you're looking at or whatever, that feeling that you had of just being free and just the joy in the play. When's
Like
the
the
last
inner
time?
child.
Right, the inner child. When's the last time you felt like that? That was a question that we had to ask ourselves. When's the last time you connected with that emotion of just being free? Forget the mortgages, forget the car payments, forget all the chaos of stress of life, and just attach to the emotion of being free in the world and just enjoying being here, being present. We talked about that, and just learning how to be still.
I see that Brother AJ put that in the chat too. Being still unlocks
It all.
it all.
Yes,
Yeah.
being still unlocks it all. Yes, yes. It was something that, so for us to understand how to be still, but also know how and when to approach.
Okay.
Right. Again, we didn't read, and now we are masters at it. Right. It's work. It's homework from this to read. But I thought this was just such a powerful read because for us as kings, I think it starts with obviously the first to read was the family man working within, and now this one is, now let's go deeper within you, deeper within you to understand, why are there blockages? Where did they come from? When's the first time you can remember suppressing your emotions? And what have you done since then to heal that, so now you can connect with emotions?
Right.
And we haven't done that, obviously in life, but through this to read the homework and the different things, it's going to help us unlock the connection.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah,
I love that.
That was our week.
And I see Brother AJ in the chat. He said agreed 100. And Tosh said, this is good, James. Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I feel like where you all landed was in a place of identifying, like you're saying, right? Identifying your emotions, connecting with it, so then you can actually integrate that emotion into your experiences. And so that's pretty much in alignment too with what Sacred Woman was about, right? So our gateway was Sacred Word, and really and truly the essence of Sacred Word is for women to understand the power of our mouths, our language, our use of our words, our tongue, we talked a lot about, the ability to either pour light and life into ourselves or others with the words that we speak, or even being able to pour lack into ourselves or others, in the same way. And how it's a very fine line between the two. But it is something that we can be intentional in that space, so that we get the desired outcomes that we really want, which is love.
Right.
We want to be love, we want to embody love, and we want to exude love and also receive love. So ultimately, sacred, whether it's sacred word or it's even diving into your sensitivities, essentially it's all to help us to be able to communicate better with each other, better with ourselves and with each other.
Right.
So that actually moves us into what we thought were the commonalities between both the Arete and the Gateway. And that was effective communication, which I know we know all, right? A lot of us know a lot about at least how we communicate, the types of communications that we like, our tendencies in communication. But essentially effective communication, and we gave a shot at describing it as how it relates to the sacred word in the two books. And we're saying effective communication involves conveying messages with profound respect, mindfulness, and a deep sense of connection to the spirit, right? To spiritual and divine aspects of our language. And then effective listening is, as it relates to sacred word, it's about receiving and interpreting those messages with deep reverence, open-heartedness, and a mindful awareness of their spiritual significance and transformative power. So I know that 2 weeks ago, right? And like in our first week, we talked about the power of affirmations, and that was sacred word, right? That's how we were communicating even what we want to call into our lives and what we want to attract. And essentially, we've learned a lot about communicating, whether it's through life experiences, parents, modeling before us, even jobs, a lot of jobs even have training in the space of communicating. But are we listening? Because once we are in a space where we are opening up, right? You're diving into your sensitivity, and now you're giving yourself that emotional safety to speak. Are we listening? Is the person who you're talking to listening? And what does that really mean? What does that actually look like? And how does that apply to sacred word?
Right.
So we did some diving here, and I hope you can see it and that it's not too small for you, but we did some diving on all the different ways of listening. And this was major, it caused major discussion for James and I, right? Because, and I'm sure when you go through these as well, and you take a look at this now, we can identify some of the tendencies we have, whether it's the listening style that we most frequently tap into, or the listening style that we don't very frequently like. You know what I mean? Like whatever, however you receive that. So essentially, there are all of these different ways of listening. And so we get to show up for each other very specifically when we know them, So starting with defining them all, right? So we've got active listening, which is fully engaging with a speaker and paying close attention to what they're saying, and then what they're not saying, right? Also their tone and their body language, and that also involves giving feedback, right? That's active listening. Then there's reflective listening, which involves kind of echoing things back, right? You're just repeating what's been stated to you so that you're communicating that you understood, right? Or understood the person that intended for you to receive the messaging. Then there's empathetic listening, which is focusing not just on the words, but also identifying those underlying emotions, right? And feelings, like being able to look at those body or emotional cues that kind of tell you how a person is feeling when they're expressing themselves. There's critical listening, and I think this one is the one I've had to do some work in this space, y'all, right? That part was a journey for me too. So critical listening, which involves evaluating, analyzing, So and really digging into the content that's of, of what's being spoken, focusing on the logic, focusing on the evidence, and then even having potential biases, right? Like using past experiences in the present, right? Using and that biasing the way that you're able to listen. But it has its benefits, right? Like if you're an investigator, critical listening is going to benefit you. If you're an attorney, a judge, there are a lot of different areas where it's going to benefit you. So it's not to say that that's a bad space or a bad skill, but because none of them are. But it's essentially just to say to be aware of which one you're leaning into. So then there's passive listening, which is receiving the message with no feedback. Like there's no active feedback, there's no true engagement. It's casual, someone's speaking to that person and they're kind of, you may not even be sure sometimes if that person is listening.
Right.
And then there's selective listening, where you're focusing on the parts of the communication that interest you, but you may be ignoring other parts, right? Like someone said, oh, you put on some weight, but I like how that looks on you. And you're like, I put on weight?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like you're focused in on that one piece, right? And not necessarily hearing all the other parts of it. So yeah.
Right.
Then you have appreciative listening. So that's listening for enjoyment and appreciation. And it's often associated with like music, right? If you're listening to music that feels soothing to you, storytelling, podcasts, the radio, speeches, whatever, right? Poetry. Then there's informational listening. So that's where you're focused on absorbing and understanding, or understanding, as we like to say, right? Typically in an educational kind of informative kind of a setting. And lastly, but not least, right? There's therapeutic or counseling listening, and that's used when you're in a therapeutic setting, focusing on the speaker's feelings and experiences, and then is aimed at helping them solve a problem. So why I feel it's important, right, that we actually dive into this is because all of these are essential ways of listening, but it's how and when are we applying it, right? And what is it that, the person who's speaking intends to get out of communicating with you?
Yeah. Yeah. So I just have to say really quick. So this was really important. My thoughts on this have changed over the years. Right. So it's funny, and I'm sure some brothers can relate to me when I say this. So if you would have asked me, if you would have talked about this with me back in the day, I would have said the woman that I want is the passive listener. I just want you to listen to me. Yes. And I don't need the critique. I don't need you to be reflective. I don't need you to be active. I don't want to have a dialogue about it and go back and forth. Sometimes I just want to just say something and that's it.
I wonder if we poll the group if they thought that was me.
Right.
Did it seem like he found a passive listener?
Look at Dave's face. But see,
totally me.
But this is how naive I was at, when you are courting your partner, right? And this is where it's important, because at times in your life, you may not even know what you're looking for. I mean, God gave me who I was supposed to have, because you make me a better version of myself, right? But I did not know that at the time. That's what I was choosing. I want the yes person. Just yes me. Just make me feel good, boost my ego, and yes me, whether I'm right or wrong. Just because this is what, again, modeling. This is what I saw in my life. My mom's voice was suppressed, and she just echoed whatever your dad says, right? Now, fast forward to now, right? I know I got the right person. I know I got the person that is not going to yes me to death, the person that is going to make me dive deeper within myself, be critical at times, be empathetic at times, be reflective at times, be active at times, depending on what that time is and what's needed in that conversation. You give me multiple ones from this, which again, the end goal is to always, sometimes I say something and I don't even have a true understanding of what I'm saying. But after you asking me the whys,
Yeah.
right? And brothers, we all know the questions of the whys and why and why and why and why. And I'm like, sheesh, why you keep asking me why? And we get to the end result, which is a better understanding of what even I was trying to articulate, or even, you know, what I was talking about. So again, from where I was to where I am, it's just crazy to look at, because
Yeah.
I didn't know what I was looking for.
Yeah. Even when I looked at this too, and I thought about my style of listening and where, you know, there are implications as to where there would have been conflict, right?
Right.
Because I essentially believe that there's a part of me that's always a problem solving, like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm always on a mission to help solve a problem. But everyone's not always looking for, someone to join in on the effort of solving their problem, you know? So being able to identify when someone is looking for that and just ask, or invite, you know what I mean, to the thought, but not to assume that you have already identified what the problem is and then to get started on, the solving of it, right? Like that. And then there was the critical side, right? Because I've always thought of judgment in the past being something that's almost got like a negative connotation to it, right? Like as if it has a mean-spirited undertone, but it doesn't have to, right? So judgment can just very simply mean that I am recalling things that have happened in the past. And instead of being present in this moment in the dialogue that we're having, I'm pulling from my archive of information I have from the past. And that's the lens that I'm listening with. So I could be now using that messaging, that old messaging, to disprove everything you're saying. And so what you're saying to me is not really landing well. It's not connecting, and I'm not truly hearing it from who you are in this moment, because I'm applying it to who I already believe you are from who you've shown yourself to be, in my opinion, right? In the past. So, but I did realize that there are other elements, right? Like that the empathetic listening, I think that we did well with each other, but like James mentioned, it's all about timing, right? It's about like what's needed in the moment. So as you all are looking at this, were there any specific just emotions, sentiments, thoughts, ideas, questions that came up for you when you're looking at all these different types of listening styles?
Yeah, I'll go. It's Melinda. How to navigate through all of them and when they're needed. There's a time and a place for each one, and ensuring that when I am having conversations with folks, that I'm applying the appropriate one. Or if I don't know how to learn that skill, this would be a good time to do that to better myself and my relationships.
I love that. I love that. Thank you for sharing that, Melinda. Yeah. Did anyone else have a thought regarding listening? Or even the idea of listening being so much more than just not speaking.
Right.
Dave, sure.
So listening is it's such a critical skill, and I have been fortunate enough to come to the epiphany that communication, it's all in the lines of communication, especially as much as I write music, write myself letters, write to God or whatever. Projecting is just as important as listening, but people don't even realize that, like you had led to earlier, Tanasia. People only communicate with their mouths 20%. You have to look at the hand gestures. You have to look at the posturing in the seat. You know, it's amazing if you could remix your life and go back and have certain conversations again. And what would the outcome be with the information that we have? You know what I'm saying, at our employ. And just I mean, obviously there's no going back, but just imagine if this right here was, and they made up their minds like, hell no, I ain't rocking with you. Or it could be as simply as, that made a lot of sense. I'm going to employ a new way of walking. You know what I mean? So it's interpretation, but it also has to do with where you are in that place of your life.
Yes.
Some people can receive ideas at a certain place, but you hit on it in the beginning too. And you know, around the time of my divorce, I started realizing too. Well, no, a little bit earlier. I had some earlier trauma, but it didn't click until divorce. People don't realize how fortunate they are and how lucky they are, positions they are until trauma hits, and that's when appreciation. I only got 5 more days left. Oh, I got to do this before this time runs out. Oh, my knees hurt. I better, you know, now you want to move because you trauma stricken. Where's that activity? And it all again falls into what you're saying, full circle communication. You know what I'm saying? How you listen, because instruction. And maybe you didn't take the hint from your mama, maybe you didn't take the hint from auntie back in the day. Why don't you listen? Well, that's because I get good grades. That's because I was born spoiled. That's because I got a chip on my shoulder. Conversation, interpretation, and understanding is just as complex as, especially with the internet right now, the Tower of Babel. Everybody's trying to get up to God, climb on the internet, get their 15 minutes. But guess what? Nobody knows what nobody's talking about, and it's right there in plain language. The hell are you saying, man? I rest my mic.
Thank you for that.
Thank you for that. And, just really quick in the chat, Brother AJ said, judgment depends on delivery. And then Brother True said, how we listen externally is a reflection of how we listen internally.
Come on with that. Okay.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
I like that.
Yes. Well said.
And Tosh.
Hello. So I really, with going through Sacred Word Gateway 1, and then this right here, I found, because I was very intentional about not talking and really just sitting with myself and just being, in spaces, and also the things that I say. And I've been on this path for a little bit already. So now when you're not talking so much, you're able to listen and be more present, and also the different types of listening, because, one of the things was to not entertain gossip. And it seems like that's just all that came around me this week when I was trying to, and so just in a gentle way, listening and knowing when to like cut it, right? And saying like, okay, that's enough for me to hear your stuff. Yeah. You don't want to go through a resolution, and it's not even that's my job. So these different types of listening are important, because there are times when maybe someone is looking for some feedback, and there are times when they just want to dump on you, for lack of a better word. And so the two at this time was very aligned for me, and it helped me to listen better and to understand, but also know when to cut off and also watch my words too. So that's what my takeaway was from this.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, it's true. Like, and I think we're all kind of saying that, right? It's a dance, right? It's like knowing, which beat to catch, you know what I mean? What kind of rhythm is it? And yeah, really being able to switch between the different types of listening depending on the situation. And yeah, I can hear you on that gossiping. I probably want to slip into maybe some passive listening or that.
Right. And let me just clarify the statement I said Brother True, but I apologize. I see it's him and his queen.
Okay.
So I didn't want to not give, the accolades.
It's coming from that household.
It's coming from that household.
Okay.
Yes.
Give thanks for the clarification.
Right. Brother Manifest.
Yes, Brother Manifest.
Peace, everyone.
Peace, Brother Manifest.
One quick second. So I was listening to the conversation, such a beautiful conversation about listening, right? And I was thinking about, what does that mean to a collective, like, the band that I'm a part of right now. It's called the Electric Sound Collective. And we have to, like, not only play together, you know, in the very beginning we came together and we've never played together. And it was very interesting how just we locked in so quickly. And I think that we were all in a space to um be willing to listen to each other, you know? And that's not just like, oh, me telling them, hey, this is the way that we got to go. No, me observing both of them, me observing myself with them, me um how we connect, you know, like their responses, right? Like this is all listening, right? Like how you connect with your brother or your you know, or just like generally all of us, you know, how we connect generally. And so when I observe, like I have one of them that, excuse me, sorry, give me one quick second. All right. So one of the brothers, he's the drummer, and he has Tourette's, and he also has scoliosis, or he has like issues with, you know, his back, and also Tourette's, where, you know, he has like I think they're called like a tick or something to that extent. And so he's an amazing drummer. When you see this guy play, all of the kids stop and they're like, "Oh my God, that's so amazing!" And it's such a beautiful experience to see him do what he does. And, you know, when I observe how he shows up, you know, and I listen to, you know, how he's playing the drums that day or how he feels. Before we even get to playing, we get to conversing, having conversation with each other and having ceremony. So we sit together, we have ceremony, we set our intentions, and then we play, no matter what time we get there. And so we give space to listening to each other, you know, on that level. And now we're going to play with each other where we're going to listen to each other on a level where we don't have to speak. Where we look at each other, you know exactly what I'm about to do next. And even if I don't know what I'm about to do next, he knows what I'm about to do next, which is very interesting because it's like I start doing something different and he's already on it.
Wow.
So like such a beautiful thing to, like, you know, be able to experience listening on a musical level where it's so much deeper.
Right. Wow.
That's amazing.
That is that. Wow. Thank you for that, Brother Manifest. That's powerful. That is like, you know, you think about that connection that they have, and it's something that you want in your own relationship, right? To be able to dance and maneuver even non-verbally and understand it. And a lot of people get there, right? Where you know what your partner's about to say before they say it, or you can tell your partner saying it's time to go home before they don't have to say it verbally. You can see like it's time to go.
That's beautiful. It's beautiful. So it's like building a rhythm, because as you're describing that, Brother Manifest, I'm thinking about just how we dance, right? Like we don't really have to think about where the next beat is going to drop. It's kind of like you get into the rhythm and then you just, even if you've never heard the song before, like you get into the rhythm and your body just goes with it. You know what I mean? With that same kind of expectation that you're saying you have with your band partner. But I think it's really dope too that you all sit together and commune in ceremony to set that intention in the first place. And so you're inviting that in, you're allowing that in, and that's why it's showing up. So that's amazing.
I love that. Thank you for that, brother.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for that share. Brother AJ.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes. Peace, brother.
Okay, peace. How's everybody doing?
Wow.
For the manifest, that was dope. I have to double down on that. Just listening and thinking about, you know, the kid you were saying his I wouldn't call it a disadvantage, you know what I mean, that he has, but to be able to sink in on that was just what it made me think about was space, right? Everybody keeps talking about when you listening, it generates, it starts from creating that space, right? And I immediately thought about a conversation that I had with a customer this week, and James can, if he remembers this. One of the things I like about James that I know he's developed over the years, I guess, is being able to give that glass half full approach to situations. And so I was on the phone with a customer, and I hadn't created the space to listen, even though my job as a customer service agent is to listen, right? I was in that space of knowing what my job was because I do it day in, day out. I was hearing what the customer was saying in regards to, or was ready to hear what the customer was saying in regards to their issue that they was calling for, but I wasn't listening. So the customer was calling to pretty much just dump. And what they said was they asked me a question and I had my answer already lined up for them. You know, I'm that good, right? And and she flipped it on me because, and me not knowing that or recognizing or being number one, being in the space to listen and realizing that she was calling to dump. I went to answer her question and I gave her unequivocally the answer, and she pretty much told me, I don't care what you're saying. And I immediately went into the situation. Well, okay, the call is over at this point. Like if you're calling for help, right, and I legitimately tell you the answer to the question, and again, remember, I'm not understanding that she's calling to dump. I'm just calling to get to my next call. This call is one call of many that I'm going to take. And okay, let me get through this. And she wasn't calling to get an answer. She was calling to dump. So as she said that, I responded by same thing I just said. Well, you know, at this point, how can I further assist you if you don't care what I'm saying? And we went to another topic where she asked me another question and I answered and I kind of got the same response. And at that point, I was kind of like, oh, okay, you know what? I'm not one to give supervisor calls. I'll talk with a customer. I have the gift of gab. That's not a problem. But what I don't want to do is I know I'm on a recorded line. I don't want to get into a combative dialogue with the customer. So if I'm at a point where I know that I can help you, but you don't want to attain my help at this time, then I know I have and higher, right? And so me and James spoke about it later on, and his perspective of it immediately was his glass half as he listened to the call, got the back end of it, and he came and talked to me. His glass half full perspective immediately punched in that I wasn't listening and that she was just calling to dump. So all I had to do was just sit back and let her dump, and the whole interaction probably would have changed. So I just say this to say I learned just in my workspace and now taking that into life, one, creating the intention of even before I leave the house, maybe even when I wake up after I say my morning prayer and start my meditation, is creating that space, understanding as I leave this house and I interact with people to bring that glass half full perspective to understand to listen attentively and figure out what it is that is abroad, and then I'll know how to correctly achieve the outcome that needs to be. So definitely learned something here in this meeting.
Well said, brother.
Yeah, that's dope. Being able to recognize that, you know,
yeah,
that's what it's all about. Because nobody's gonna be perfect and have perfect days. But like you said, and I think it's so spot on, right? It's like set the intention,
right,
to be open to listening, and then it'll attract.
Yeah. Well, and as soon as you started talking, brother AJ, I know exactly where you was going with it. I said, I know what story he's talking about.
Right.
Yeah, but it's a beautiful thing, right? Because this is life, you know, like this is the thing that I love about this journey, right? It opens up your eyes to that. It's not for the call. It's not for just one particular relationship. This is life. And as we continue to develop our tools and have an understanding and be connected, you see it showing up, workplace, personal life, different relationships. It shows up and you start saying, wow, I see how the work has me changed as far as how I view things. And, you know, you put it in its categories of how to deal with things. And it's just a beautiful thing. So thank you for sharing that story, brother.
Yeah, good. Thanks for that. Like Tosh mentioned earlier, right? Like then you get to be intentional about it the next time, you know?
Right.
So
Right.
that's amazing.
Beautiful, beautiful. We got Shy and Dre.
Chandre.
Hello, everybody.
Hey,
Peace,
Dre.
brother. Peace, peace.
Just on the just just touching back on just listening. Like me at my job, nobody likes to listen to me because I'm young, I'm black, I'm working with mostly white people. So my demeanor comes across as asshole a lot because it's like you're not gonna listen to me. I don't care what you say. Like I told you what I said, and that's it. I walk away. Like that's me. So at home, it's the opposite. Can't do that with Shy. So it's like when Shy talks to me sometimes, if I feel like she's going on too long, like I'll just explode and walk away. Like I don't want to hear it anymore. But I think like my lesson in life for all of this is I have a 3-year-old son and he's nonverbal. So when he wants something, I gotta really listen to like try to figure out what he actually wants.
Wow.
So it's like it kind of like humbles me at a point.
Wow. Right? Wow. Wow.
Goodness, Dre.
Thank you for sharing that, man. That is powerful, man. That wow.
May I share?
Well, yeah.
I
Yes.
felt that, Dre.
That was deep. That was
Oh
deep.
my gosh.
Yes, please, brother Manifest. Yes, you was gonna say something?
Yeah, I while I was listening to brother's story, and wow, that's so deep, right? Like where the universe really, God like really provides us with the lessons that are our greatest challenges, right? And through our children, through not even just our children, we even like children in our family, we see like they teach it all the time. They're reminding us of like also our childhood. Like it's such a beautiful experience. I just wanted to share that. Thank you for sharing that, brother.
Yeah.
Wow.
Thank you. Yeah, like that really choked me up.
Yeah, me too. Again, I get especially
I'm still recovering.
it's crazy because again, I'm not one. I guess I am really being attached to my emotions now. I'm really starting to learn that because I'm choked up in the moment just thinking about like how God showed up in that, and for you to be able to connect that, Dre, is so powerful, man. Like I salute you, brother, for being able to connect that and have that vision and that awareness right now. That's growth. That's growth, and I'm like so proud of you. I'm just like
it's so dope.
It's dope. Just for just for the future of your child, your relationship, your union, just all of that. It's powerful.
What comes to mind for me too, Dre, on that is the word purpose, right? Because so often, like you hear a lot of times people, they speak of purpose like it has to be this one grand thing, right? Like this one thing that you are here to do. And like you just like that one path. But purpose can show up in a series of small, medium, big, you know what I'm saying, size experiences, right? Like there can be purpose in everything. And so what you identified really is the purpose for the learning that you're experiencing in your job, right? In your career, how that now translates into your personal experiences and inserts purpose, and gives you a sense of a compass on how to navigate it. Like, it's just, oh my goodness. Like, oh, wow. That's amazing. And the chat is going off.
I'm in there.
Yeah. Give thanks for that share, Dre. Thank you. Thank you. And in light of the fact that we know that the brothers are in the arena of sensitivity and vulnerability, kudos to you for showing up and speaking that truth today, brother.
Right.
Oh my goodness. Like, just want to send you so much love on that. So give thanks.
Yes. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as we go into even, you know what, I think we'll come back on the prompt discussion, because I feel like what Dre was kind of taking us down a path of, and we move with spirit, right? Kind of lands really well with what we've carved out here. So here we have the agitators, right? And it's a brief list. I'm sure that there's some things that can make folks more irritable than even just what's on this list, right?
Right.
And then the enhancers, right? So thinking about, do we want to just be speakers? And maybe in some way, shape, or form, or even on some platforms, we do, right? But if we want to be great communicators and have two-way dialogue, then there's some things that we're going to need to be very mindful of, and consider, right? Or allow ourselves to take in. So agitators here are basically those things that get in the way of effective communication, whether it's through listening, or it's the person who's communicating. So from a listener standpoint, though, right? Things like having distractions. So if a person is trying to communicate with you and you are obviously distracted, that's going to be an agitator, right? Having those prejudices, the biases and judgments that we talked about, recalling the old stuff, right? Bringing that back into the present moment, or biases of any sort. That's an agitator. Emotional reactivity. I know for me, especially before I really learned how to move emotion through my body and experience it in a way that didn't have to like kind of show up in like a outburst, right? Or like a outburst of tears and overwhelm. Realizing that if someone is speaking to you, even if you're experiencing an emotion to it, having a tool for yourself that you get to move that emotion so that you can get back to a place of listening. Just
Right.
you got it, whatever that modality is going to be for you, to be able to move the emotion. One of the things that James does, and it's taken a long time for me to get more comfortable with, is James's way of moving his emotional reactivity is he has to walk away for a minute. And I don't like that because I'm in the middle, right? Like hold on, I got one more thing to say. You know what I mean? Like, and he's like, I need to step away from this for a second, right? So I can see the benefit to that, and we'll talk about that in the enhancers. But for some of us, it can be an agitator, but it's about getting to know, what the person who you're communicating needs are as well. Then there's interrupting. It can be hard if you feel like a person is long-winded. It can be hard if you feel like there's a false truth in the midst of what's being stated. But allowing a person to complete their thought, it's just so important. And it's not only important for them because it's a sign of respect, but it's even important for us so that we really make sure as the person who is listening that we are getting whatever the thought was in its completion, like it's full, like they stated everything. So before we react to a part of it, we know the complete thought, or respond to it, rather. Then there's planning responses, thinking about what it is you're going to say in the middle of the person still speaking. That's going to be an agitator.
See that the plan and responses, that's why I walk away. Right.
Because you're in that space.
Because I'm in that space, I'm impulsive of what I want to say. And then I say stuff that is not what I really want to say. I need that second to sit with it and plan my response.
Okay.
So yeah.
Fair enough. Mental fatigue or lack of interest. So that's going to come through as an agitator too, right? Again, we'll talk about the flip side of that, but mental fatigue is real. And if you're not interested in what's being discussed, yeah, that's going to be an agitation as well. Selective listening, we talked about that a little bit already, right? Like pulling out the part that you're hearing and not really listening for the completion. Assuming and predicting, thinking you already know what someone else is about to say or where this is going,
Right.
and kind of jumping the gun, so we say, right? Or over analyzing it. Like, do you trust and believe what the person is saying, or are you over analyzing it because you believe that there is something there that they're not sharing, right? Or there's a motivation that needs to be revealed. But that can be an agitation. Then there's the enhancers. So mindful presence. So that's the, okay, kind of pausing from what it is you're doing to connect in the moment, mindful presence. Open-mindedness, not immediately looking to be reactive, not immediately looking to defend, just being open to allow the person to say whatever it is that they need to say, despite what it might be making you feel in the moment. And then there's emotional stability, right? So the opposite then of the reactivity, but it's like having that stability, like this journey that we're on is really essentially that, right? It's to heal those triggers so that, not so that they're never triggered again, so to speak, right? But so that we understand what soothes the wound, so that when it comes up, we know how to self-soothe, so that it doesn't interrupt our ability to connect with ourselves or with other people. So that's creating that emotional stability. Then there's patience. We live in a society where everything moves fast.
Yep.
Even videos are getting quicker and quicker.
Right.
It's like, I think now you need to make like a 12-second reel in order, right? You know what I mean? Like, so people's attention spans are shortening.
Yep.
And so it can be very difficult to listen to someone speak because even 2 minutes can feel like 2 hours sometimes. So having that patience, which might even mean scheduling the time. And then there's the active engagement. So there's the, is it appropriate or not to kind of reflect and repeat back, okay, I get what you said about that, and kind of get involved in the discussion in that way to communicate that you're connecting. Rest and interest. This was another one that's tough, right? It was tough. I think now, this is not a current state thing, but I used to believe like you never go to bed angry. Never go to bed angry, right? So that means if you've got to stay up until the wee hours to work through it, stay up until the wee hours to work through it. I don't believe that any longer. I don't know who came up with that, but I don't believe it, because trying to communicate with someone whose mind is exhausted and in need of rest, it's self-defeating. Like, you're not going to be effective. You are wasting your time. You know what I mean? So allowing the rest and then the interest to be presented, so that when you're communicating, it's not falling on, ears that don't want to hear it. That's important. Then there's the holistic listening, like listening from your spirit, like moving away out of the emotion, coming away from the logic, and like literally listening with your spirit. What is your spirit showing you? Is your spirit saying that there's a level of emotion that hasn't been spoken? Is your spirit telling you that there's a level of trauma maybe beneath that hasn't been spoken? Like, what else is showing up in the spiritual, nonverbal, non-physical way to communicate to you that there's something else you need to have some compassion for? Then there's reserving judgment, right? We talked about that, reserving the judgment and focusing on the main idea. This one I think is a big one too, because so often, the one conversation branches out into several different many things, right? And then at some point, maybe even the next day, you got to go back to the reason you were having that deep discussion in the first place. And that can be exhausting. But if you focus on the main idea, then you can kind of, my mom calls it trimming the fat, or what is it, Shashi said? I'm like
going off on a tangent.
Going on a tangent, but there's another one that she's been saying. Somebody at the job was saying it all the time. Cut the fat or something like that. No, the noise. Kill the noise.
Kill
right?
the noise.
Like,
Kill the noise.
Killing the noise, right? Like, there's gonna be some background noise, but getting rid of that. So any thoughts on what agitates you? So
in the chat, we got
Alicia said, I'll be up all night. Right, exactly, right? Because can't go to bed upset. Tasha, I literally can't sleep. Says, get your rest because you're gonna need it so you can pick back up where you left off the next day. Sha said, it could be Dre. I don't know. Is it Sha or Dre? But it says, I'm going to bed. I'll tell you about yourself in the morning.
That was me. Dre had to step away. That was definitely me. I'm not I'm not going to bed and I'm gonna be up all night, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning because you want to argue. No, I'm sorry. I'm going to sleep. When I wake up, if you're not up, I'm just gonna send you a long text message. And the thing is even better that way, because now you gotta read it, you gotta process it before you can even respond. Because this going back and forth, you're not even hearing me, you're not listening, and I'm not really listening because I'm one of those. What's the critical where I am over analyzing, I'm pulling from my past data bank, and I'm doing all of the things. So my mind is racing as
Yeah.
you're talking, and no, I can't do this all night because I will legit continue to
'Cause
run
I'm on
all night long.
overdrive.
No, my body will shut down.
Thanks for that. Yeah,
Right.
thanks for that. Oh my goodness. And then going back to our prompts, right? So recall a situation where you found yourself emotionally affected while listening to someone describe while listening to someone, I'm sorry. So recall a situation where you found yourself emotionally affected while listening to someone. So does anyone have a situation where they found themselves emotionally affected while listening? What did that look like? What were the emotions? What was running through your mind? Sha.
Just now when Jay was sharing, I
Mm,
was I was trying to keep my emotions actually contained a bit because I realized that he was getting emotional. And I don't like to add my emotions to his. I like to allow him to just feel what he's feeling, and let it out. But
mhm,
to me, it makes me emotional just the fact, one, that he was able to connect that. So we're actually having the conversation before he shared it.
Mm.
And I encouraged him to share. I'm like, you should share. And he was like, they don't need to know that. And I'm like, this is not the space of they don't need to know. Like, this is, you can share here. So him pushing through and actually doing it,
yeah.
because he would normally just be like, I said no, and that's just that. So him being comfortable enough to actually share, that made me a bit emotional. The fact that yes, Lonnie is nonverbal and it is sometimes tough to communicating with him. And most times it's actually once you now know Lonnie and his emotion, how he interacts, it's pretty easy to see what it is that he wants and what he doesn't want and how he's feeling about it. And although he's not speaking full words, he's definitely talking junk. You can tell that. Um,
Talking junk.
he's talking junk. I don't because he hasn't found the words, but it's coming out like
But the energy is
Yeah.
there.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
that. It's
Yeah.
the
And he knows he doesn't want Barbara or Uncle James to come near him. When he see the garage, he know, no, I'm
you
not.
know exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just the feeling his emotions, feeling my own emotion behind also dealing with the same situation, realizing that he is actually aware of how it's affecting him and us and everything else. It was kind of deep. It was
Listen, I gotta tell you that was, I think, emotional for a lot of us. Just
Mhm.
hearing him say it, because so it's confirmation. And I keep
Mhm.
saying this, it's confirmation. I tell brothers this all the time. I say it on my call, I said it here probably 1,000 times. This is for anybody who doesn't say, I don't know how this works. I don't know, I don't get what y'all are doing. I don't see how it works. That is confirmation of how it works.
Mhm.
By just tapping in, doing the work, doing these things to get in touch with, your inner self, things show up and it connects and you go, oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's confirmation. And
Mhm.
I was talking to some brothers earlier in the week and I was just saying, like, they're like, I don't know how to connect to what's going on. And, I don't know the language that everybody's speaking. And I'm like, just show up in your true, authentic self.
Mhm.
Nobody's here to judge you. Nobody cares what language you think they're speaking or they're not speaking. However it comes out of your mouth, step into the circle and just speak, brother. Just be
Mhm.
yourself and trust and believe that you are in a place of safety.
Yeah.
And we are all here just to pour into you when you speak. And for any brother that hasn't spoke, to hear Dre step in the circle and have
A
the
vulnerable
the
moment.
vulnerable moment to
Mhm.
share and see the support and love that we're all here for. It's just a blessing, and I hope that helps others, pour into this as well. Because in order to get the most out of anything, you gotta pour the work into it. You gotta pour yourself into it. You gotta get to that point, like the Reed says, like it's to get to the stage where you're okay being vulnerable and trusting God that it's okay. And this is the space to do it, because that's where the work comes in. That's where the layers start pulling off of yourself, and you're able to be vulnerable, and you see more about yourself, and other people pour into you, and you walk away like, okay, all right, I feel better, and I see things differently. So it's just an amazing moment in so many levels for that will happen, you know.
And I would just add too that we are the chosen ones, right? Like no one is in this space by chance.
Yes, yes.
Nobody is here by chance. And sometimes, oftentimes, right, what you're speaking is good for your soul, right? It's good for your spirit. But God is also going to use each one of us.
Absolutely.
And so at the end of the day, when you hold back a message that you're being nudged to share, it could be that God is simply just trying to actually work through you and get that message to someone else that's in the space. And you don't want to become the blockage. You know what I mean? So it could be beneficial to you, but it can also be beneficial to the collective. So I appreciate anybody sharing, no matter how it comes through, whether the chat, however.
Right.
So
Melinda said yes, confirmation.
Confirmation. Love that. Tosh said, I am an empath, so I feel everyone's emotions when engaged, and it can be draining managing them. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Melinda said, I received that.
Yes. I think that's probably a true statement, Tosh, for many of us, you know, that we feel deeply. And that's why we're here, because essentially we're part of the healing, right? What the first patient, so to speak, that we will heal or be on a journey of healing is ourselves, but we are healers from that point. You know what I mean? So we get to share it. Yeah. Did anyone else have a thought that they wanted to share? Okay. So we're going to go into dissecting words, right? So this is a bit of a shift, right? So essentially, as we become even more enhanced listeners, we're going to start on a journey of where we're really hearing now intentionally and listening intentionally and picking up on so much more, and definitely picking up on specific words or even phrases, and essentially how they make us feel, how they make us feel. So what we thought would be fitting in this space was for us to explore the word of love, like just explore that word. And so we did some digging on just the, I guess we would call it where it has derived, essentially, right? So in ancient Indo-Europe, the root of the word love can be traced back to meanings that are associated with to care and also to desire, right? It's also traced back in Latin terms to mean that it pleases. So when we think about love in terms of being something that's intended to please, right? It pleases, love pleases, or just a state of love, pleasing. And also, it's been connected to he desires, or even libido and belief. So that was surprising even for us to kind of find that when you research the origins of love, that all of this goes into it. And I know for me, maybe for some of us and to others, I encourage you to maybe investigate it further. For some of us, we may be a bit familiar with the love languages, right? And how there's physical love languages, there's affirmation love language, acts of service, so to speak. And I always used to wonder about the physical piece. I'm like, physical is your love language? Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's it, right? Here I was with my judgment, because acts of service, or even I call it advocacy, which is not identified there, but for me, advocacy is my love language. Come to my rescue. That's what I want. Like, advocacy is my love language. But to understand that in part, that even in ancient times, it was associated even with being a portion of the word of libido, could help us to understand its connection to physical, to the physical love language. And then also, in terms of the Bloomsbury Dictionary of Words, essentially, it meant find pleasing. Then there's a shift that happens somewhere in like between the 1100 to 1500 CE, right? So Middle Times, where it's being used even in terms of belief, right? So there's this Dutch leaf that essentially is also a derivative of the word love. And so when you think of the word belief and think of it in terms of it actually meaning essentially to be love, that's pretty dope. The association between belief and that to mean be love, to be love. So it was just a beautiful revelation there. And then moving into ancient Kemet, right, which was Egyptian times, the Egyptian society, and also, of course, what we are studying in both Man Heal Thyself and then also in Sacred Woman, there's what we refer to as myrrh. And you'll see, you know, in the communities, we kind of position our hands this way in order to extend and give and love, right? It's like a ray, unseen ray, aura extension of light. And that's what we refer to as myrrh. And it indicates that this is perhaps the closest term to the modern concept of love. So it encompasses love, affection, and desire, right? And it can be in many contexts between romantic, familial, or even an expressing of just enjoyment of an activity or a place, right? So myrrh. So as we begin to listen more intentionally and connect to how words make us feel, you know, you can always be invited to go on a journey of your own to kind of explore more deeply what those words mean. And then even deeper than that, where did what's the origin, right? And what are those derivatives even that they come from? So any thoughts on this? Okay. We will go into the homework. So in terms of enhancing our ability to listen, so the homework is, and Sha, looks like you have a hand up. Or is it up from before?
I did put my hand up.
Okay.
I just wanted to add something about love. So I was watching a YouTube. It was 19 Keys, and he was interviewing Queen Afua and Supernova. And he made a reference that I wasn't aware of. He basically, Supernova was saying that we now associate love with the heart, but prior to it being associated with the heart, it was more, it was associated with a plow, and the plow reminded us of the work that goes into love. And them removing that plow, we have now lost that connection to the work that is actually attached to the word love.
I love that. I love that. Thank you for that, Sha.
Yeah, we should go back to the plow. Like
Right. It definitely
the
symbols matter.
Yeah, it does.
The message is the message.
Right. It's funny because, you know, some people, when you don't realize that it's work, right? That's when you give up sometimes on something, not realizing
prematurely
that,
even.
Right. You know, yeah, it's work. It's work. I like the plow. I'm gonna bring the plow back, Sean.
Love that. Thanks for that.
What is the plow?
Say again, brother?
What is the plow? What is that?
Sha, you want to go back over it?
So I'll send the link to the video as well in the chat. But Supernova was saying that prior to the heart being associated, the symbol of the heart being attached to the word love, and how we brought it up, how we recognize love, like through Valentine's Day, things of that nature. Before it was a heart, it was a plow. And the plow was to remind us of the work that goes into love, and how it's not just something that's just one dimensional.
Right.
I guess my question is like, what is a plow? What is that? What is a
So
symbol
a plow
of
is
a plow?
usually like it's a farm tool. It's like digging and cultivating the ground, the earth. It's yeah, it's like a
Ah,
agricultural tool.
Yeah, yeah, and it's work. It's work. It's non. It's manual. Like you have to put in the work to dig up whatever you're digging up and do. So that's the symbolism, is that you have to work, and manually work at it. So I think that's just I love that symbolism for love.
I
Like,
do too.
it's not this floaty Cupid thing that just is magical and just happens. No, you gotta put work into it for it to be what it's gonna be. When you look at even a lot of our elders that have been together for many years, one of the biggest things that they say is it's work. It's not all peaches and creams and lovey-dovey every single day. It's the work that you put in it is what's gonna come out of it in the end. So
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
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 It's just so many layers when I'm thinking about even what you shared, Shab, and then what we were talking about in terms of belief in some languages, right? Actually having a derivative of meaning to be love, right? Like there's so many messages that are out there, especially about relationships, and I think we all have to be able to dissect what works for us, you know what I'm saying? But one of the messages that's out there, especially, and I hear this a lot with women, is to not fall in love with potential, right? And in my opinion, and I'm open to hearing anybody else's thoughts on this too, right? What's wrong with falling in love with potential, right? Um,
Thank
I
God
would
that you
have to
did.
say that James must have fallen in love with my potential, because I was not who I am today. You know what I mean? I mean, I was essentially, but I had not recalled who I am, right? So I had to go in and do the work to reclaim and recall the essence of who I am in my truest form. I was still very much wrapped in some of my traumas, wrapped in my survival mode, right? And so I wouldn't necessarily say that in every case that falling in love with potential is wrong, but just considering the thought that to believe, right, to believe, or the word believe can mean to be love. So if you have a belief in whether it's God, if you have a belief that your child can do well, if you have a belief that your partner can grow, that essentially is love. It's essentially love, and of course that's barring abuse,
All right.
or
Right. That's what I was just thinking in my head. Like, yeah,
right,
all
there's
that
going to
stuff,
be
yeah.
some strong circumstance where maybe that doesn't apply.
Right.
But I just love recalling now the essence of that word believe to meaning be loved.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like it give us the permission to actually be in love with the potential that we can intuitively identify in somebody, not just looking for someone to come as a ready-made
Right.
package,
Right.
you know?
Right.
So, uh, Wellness Warrior Truth, the Sacred Woman Constance. I see your hand up. Brother Truth, Sister Constance, are y'all on? I think
Yes, can you
maybe
hear us?
up now we
Now I can hear
can.
you. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, yes, yes. Peace and blessing, peace and blessings.
Peace, brother.
Peace.
Peace.
Yes. One of the things that in relation to the idea of love, actually me and the Queen were building on this earlier. And I'm gonna say for me, it depends on the level that you're operating on, which will reflect the degree of the term. Love for me not only expresses the active aspect of the work, but it's a place. It's a place that of existence. So when we say that we are in love, it's an actual space. It's the way that how did I express that to you? I was like, it's kind of like we live in Alabama, but to me, love is the same. There's a place called love, and instead of the phraseology of falling in love, I utilize growing in love. And so the more that we're able to reside in this place. It's not a physical place. It's actually a mental / psycho spiritual place of existence.
Right.
Love that.
like
Love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And we're in the process of developing the physical place that represents that place here on. With that, I'm at peace.
Yes.
I love that. That's
that.
profound.
Yes.
I love that.
Yes. Thank you for sharing that, brother. Wow. I like that.
Yes, right?
Yeah.
Love
Yeah.
as a space to rest in, right? To be
Right.
seated in, rooted in.
Right.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Thank you
Yeah,
for that
thank you for
share. Yeah.
Got to write that
You
down.
know what came to mind, Brother Truth, when you mentioned that is like when our children were younger, they would have these like diagrams, I guess, in the classroom, right? Where it's like you could be on red or you could be on green.
Oh yeah, yeah, right.
And you can, as a parent, you'd be able to ask your kids, like, were you in the green today? Did you stay in the green? Or were you in the yellow? Where were you today? Right. And it
Yes,
gave
ma'am.
you a sense of not a physical place, right? But a space of behavioral and emotional, placement for them for the day.
Ashe.
And so thinking about that in terms of love, that is just, ooh,
Right.
that's so good. I love that.
Yeah, that
Ashe.
gotta write that down somewhere.
Mhm.
In the chat, Colina said, sometimes you see the person's ability before they see it in themselves.
Come on, Core.
Right.
Come on, Core.
Right.
I love
Yeah,
that.
Tanisha definitely saw my ability before I saw it in myself. But yeah, that is so true. And if you give up on what you're seeing, if you just take it for what it is today,
Mhm.
you can walk away from something that could be meant for you,
Yeah,
tomorrow.
because it all depends on the trust you have in yourself and your instincts, right?
And the belief.
If I believe
Right.
in you, like I truly believe in you,
Right.
to walk away from that would mean that I don't believe my intuition was correct.
Right. And to go further into that is one of the things I talked about even with the brothers is like even in the Sarit, one of the first things to do is connect with God first, right? Yourself and God. When you have those connections, then you believe and you have the faith that these things that are showing up in your life and that's happening for you is for you.
That's right.
Right. So that's where
Part of the journey.
Correct.
Mhm.
Correct.
Can I get a little sample of that? Can I get a little touch?
Absolutely,
Yes,
brother. Absolutely.
He saw the best in me.
There you go.
And everyone else around me could only see the worst in me.
I love that. We're gonna have to find that song now.
All right.
We're gonna have to find
I
that.
don't think I hear it. So when the brother was speaking, Brother Truth, I thank you for that one because I'm a person that you paint a picture and my mind just goes someplace left. And you was looking for the words, and I was like, "Come on, say it, bro. Say it, man. Say it with your chest."
Secret word.
It's a state of being. See, when you're entering into the place of love, you can say that you're getting closer to it, but you're becoming it, and you're evolving into something else. Some people are so afraid of love that they're afraid to immerse themselves in it. And that's what it is. It's a state of being. You and the idea. You have to love love. You have to love the idea of love. You have to want love to even feel love.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's deeper. So
Ashe.
in my mind, state of being is I'm becoming love and I'm becoming better. I'm becoming something different. Now I want to be loyal. I want to be home on time. I want to massage your swollen ass feet. They look delicious to me, girl. Come here with them things. Let me,
Ashe.
let me get the toenail clipper. Let me. I love you, girl. But
Right.
that I thank you for that, Brother True.
Yeah. Thank you for that, brother. Dave.
Ashe.
I say.
I love that add-on too,
Right.
Brother Dave, that being in love with the idea
Right.
of love.
Of love. Right. And again, I'll say it again. It goes back to sometimes, again, when you're younger and you have these things that suppress those emotions in you, you don't know what love is. You can't attach yourself to love. You can't think the idea of love or what, because you can't see any of that. You don't have that inside of you. And then by healing, all that opens up the doors. Like I said, again, back to the read, opens up the doors for love, open up the door for intimacy. It opens up the doors for all of that.
Allow it in.
Yeah.
It's so true. And it also made me think about how many times have And I've heard sisters say this, right? Like, there are no good men. If
Right.
that's what you believe, guess what? There won't be.
Right.
There won't be
Yep.
any for you, right?
Yep.
So that idea that, like Dave said, right? Believing in the idea of love,
Right.
I just love that, because that's the attraction piece right there. That's how you pull it in.
Right.
That's how you pull it in.
Right.
That was
believe
powerful.
believe in the union. Believe that God gave you what's meant for you. Like, believe. I believe. 18 years at this, right? We 18 years. I believe it'll be 78 years. And then I'll see you in the next lifetime, right? But I believe. I know Sister Tosh has had your hand up, but it's down now. Is it?
I'm over here playing double dutch, like, yeah, no. Like, yeah, no. But
sacred word. We don't let it go. Let it go.
No, this is so good. I appreciate what the brother said, because that the state just being in love with love, right? And Tanisha, you said trusting your intuition. And if you feel like that's not, you're not seeing it through, then you weren't believing in your intuition to be right. And so a thought that came to me is like, when you're in a situation and it doesn't seem to be going the way, but in your heart of hearts, or you feel in your heart of hearts, I think it's a moment of just letting it play out, letting it just flow, and just
surrender.
Trusting that what it is God is going to align it to what it is. And it's not easy, but it's a peace or calm that comes there. And so, yeah, so I'm done.
I love that, Tosh. Oh, that's a critical part, right? If you trust your instincts and you trust your intuition, and you're building that trust every day, right, in yourself, with your tools, with your practices, and keeping that running log. That's why I love journaling. And Tosh, I know you journal a lot too, right? And all of us are journaling through this experience, but that's the idea, keeping that log of the evidence that you follow through on your instincts, and it showed up, right? God showed up into that space in some way, and logging it somewhere that on the days when you are feeling a little wishy-washy, right? With how you are in relationship to yourself, how you are in relationship with your instinct, how you are in relationship with your own intuition, you can just be a page away from the reference with the proof. The proof is here in writing. Turned out okay. It turned out well for me. I trusted myself, and it turned out well for me. So yeah, I love that, Tosh, what you said, because it is about the surrender. It's all about the surrender. It's taking that leap. It's faith. It's faith.
Wow.
Yeah.
There was so
give thanks for that, Tosh.
Thanks. There was really some good things that just make you just wow. All right.
Growing in love. So Chandra said, growing in love, they like that.
Yeah, that was Marvin Sapp. Yeah.
Marvin Sapp, surrendering is so important. Corlina said, the foundation of any relationship is falling in love with your partner's soul. That's beautiful. Not the physical or emotional, not the moment. They all change over time, but loving the soul will always remain intact. If that's not beautiful, oh my goodness. I love that so much. Thank you for that, Cor. Appreciate that share.
Wow.
Yeah. Anything coming up for anybody? There could be a message in you that's for somebody in this space. This is sacred word. So we let it linger this week. Look, in this case, y'all, it's sacred word. Who has a word?
These words are for
Andre.
I didn't really have a word. But just like speaking about receiving and knowing that it's meant within just these few weeks. The voice is so cute. Oh God. Anyway, with going through sacred womb, sacred word, I've on our women's calls, I've been telling y'all about these little things that's been happening and showing up for me even while I'm at work, things like that. But as I shared last week, one of my coworkers her mom had passed, and she was having an issue with her womb and all of that stuff. And then when I got to the memorial service, which I wasn't even aware, I wasn't sure that I was going to go to, she didn't send me the invitation, but she had called and was like, I don't know if I sent it to you, but are you going to come? And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to show up. And when I get there, the whole room is decorated in yellow, and Sacred Word, our color was yellow. So the tablecloths, the centerpieces, everything was decked out in yellow. And then right ahead of me, I had to text Nasia, like, the sign that is right ahead of me is big, and it just says love. And it's surrounded by photos of her and her family. But it was just like, okay, so I'm meant to be here. I know that I'm supposed to be here. So it was that one of my customers came in and she was talking to me, and she said to me, she was like, she was an older customer, and I was trying to convince her not to come in. So I'm like, you don't have to come in. We can do this over the phone. She's like, I'm coming tomorrow. I'll see you then. She was 91 years old. The lady comes in to see me, and we had she's like, it seems like I've spoken to you before. And I'm like, yeah, it feels like that for me too. But I don't know. I've never seen this lady before, but she just felt warm and welcoming. And when she was leaving, she was like, you don't change who you are, because you are love. You exude love from way deep in here. And she pointed like down in her womb. And I was like, thank you. Like, I got overwhelmed just talking to her. And I'm like, here we go again. Like, why? I guess maybe because I'm more mindful of the things that are showing up for me, I'm seeing it and just appreciating it for what it is.
Yeah, and you're believing it. So you're allowing it in. I love that.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I love that. I love that. I love that. And it's something with our elders. Like, they've been here long enough. They know. You know what I mean? They know. And they've been on their own individual journeys
Yes.
of learning to trust their instincts as well. And so it sounds like she instinctively knew that you are loved. There's something about you. I love that.
Yeah, yeah. And Tosh
Thanks.
said in the chat, the awareness. Powerful.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And then Brother Truman said, in quotation marks, in relationship.
To be all in.
In, right?
Okay, come on, Sacred Word. We pulling these words apart.
Right?
Come on, Sacred Word. I love that. Yes. In.
Let me ask y'all a question.
Yeah.
Sacred Word. When you meditate and you calm your body down to a quiet, and I mean not a sound, not the dog, not the fridge, not the laundry, the washing machine, no ticks, no nothing, but you find that sweet spot where it's absolutely quiet. And you close your eyes, but you also close your mind to open up your mind's eye. Where are you, and possibly who's around you? But what's the atmosphere that's around you? Is it like the beach? Is it space? Like, do you ever think, are you dressed? Are you wearing a certain type of garb? You know what I'm saying? Like, anybody ever think about that?
That is just so profound. But I gotta tell you, Dave, the answer is no, I didn't think about that, right? But as you just described it, it was just so visual, right?
Right.
That as you were stating it, I realized I wasn't even focused on any of those things. So it was almost like you gave us a meditation right then, right?
Yeah, it was.
It's like a room inside of a room, hidden right in plain sight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as you were describing it, I wasn't focused on what I was wearing. I wasn't focused on where I was. And the word that came to mind was love.
Yeah.
I can live with that. I can live with that.
That's pretty dope.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Wow.
I'm
Thank
just
you
saying,
for that experience.
Yes,
yes.
Brother Dave. Yeah, look at that. Wow. Do you see what's happening?
I love that.
Do you see what I just hope everybody on the call just sees what's happening in these calls, with how people are just showing up and the words are just the messages that are coming.
That was amazing. Drop in the chat where you were when Dave just took us there.
Right?
Drop in the chat. Where did you go?
I'm very interested. Yeah.
Where did you go?
I know I meditated on it.
It was like
yeah,
5 seconds too.
I saw it.
And then we were back.
Yeah, I saw sun and sand. I was in sand and sun. I don't know where I was, but that's what I felt. And I heard his voice talking. And I'm just like, yeah, it was a moment.
And it felt like, and even here right now, you could hear a pin drop.
And do you feel the heat? Do you feel the heat? Like if you're on the beach, like do you hear the bongos in the back? Like
Wow,
Yeah.
that was amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you for
Thank
that.
and if I may be one more time observant about something, you have something very beautiful in your eye, Tasha, and whatever you should talk about it. Whatever it is something.
For sure, Josh.
Yes, yes.
Please share.
I'm not trying to put you on the spot either. I'm just saying you have something.
My hand
in
is
your
up.
eye.
No, hands up, hands up. So she ready, she ready.
I'm not ready for that, Dave, but but no, thank you. I appreciate that. But when you were saying that, I've been going through a 21 day of abundance with Sha and a couple of other women, and I literally see where I am. When it's time to meditate, I go inward. So I go into my womb and I am on a lotus flower, and there is a waterfall to my right, and there's a lot of green with colorful flowers, and there's dolphins in the water in front of me, and I see it. But the thing, when you said, do you see yourself? Are you wearing clothes? No, because I am so in my meditation that I don't see myself from the outside. I am seeing my hands. I am seeing the things in front of me, but I don't see myself because I'm immersed in it instead of watching from a third person angle. So
I love that thought.
That's deeper. Wow.
Wow.
Thank you.
I love that.
And Melinda, nope, first
Melinda said she was at the beach.
and
Alicia said water, purity. There's no coincidence with that either.
Right.
Dre and Sha both were on the beach and they didn't know. Y'all were y'all together? Like
Sorry.
I went straight to the beach, but I couldn't see myself. But I know I was sitting and I could feel the sun on my skin and wind blowing. I love that. And Tori, perhaps you were seeing yourself from the same vantage point that Tasha just described, right? Of being inside, yourself. And so not being able to be the observer of yourself because you're in. So inviting you to that thought. Oh my goodness, that's so beautiful.
Wow.
Thank you for sharing that, Tori.
Wow.
And Sha.
Yeah. So when I meditate, I'm also on the beach. I can see there is a frozen, more like a smoothie drink in my hand. I'm on the beach. The kids are playing. Dre is usually not far. And then once I'm becoming too deep into this meditation and visualization, I disconnect because it always seems to take me to this place where I am in limbo. I'm like I feel like I'm on the beach, but then I'm also trying to connect to this realm that is no longer. It's I guess my ancestral plane. I don't know what exactly it is, but I feel like I'm trying to connect the two. And the more that I try to connect the two and cannot, it makes me emotional. So I have to break out of my meditation. And that's happened to me at least 3 times now.
Wow. That's amazing. Interested to hear more about that journey, Sha. As you explore, as you explore how that's showing up, what the meaning is there for you. That's amazing. I thought I saw another hand too. And Tori said in the chat, yes. Yeah. Perhaps you were that deep. You were seeing it from that same vantage point that Tasha described. It's beautiful. That is beautiful. Oh my goodness. So our journey on the sacred word, right? And homework. So homework would be enhancing your ability to listen. So identifying, and I'll share in our group chat that slide that has all of the different listening styles. And you could identify one or many, whichever you'd like, but identify a listening style that you feel you could improve on and that you could use maybe more often in your toolbox than what you are today, whether it's empathetic listening or critical listening, whatever it is. And describe a plan of how you intend to develop this listening style in your daily interactions. Right. It's like Brother AJ described earlier, right? So he was learning about how to use his listening style, even both personally and then professionally,
Right.
you know, and then the same for Dre, right? What are the potential challenges that you foresee, and how do you plan to overcome them? You know, like just planning ahead. How are you going to be so intent that you're going to plan to overcome any challenges that get in the way of you leaning into that other listening style? And then consider how enhancing this listening skill could benefit your personal and, you know, professional relationships. Love it, love it, love it. Oh my goodness. Anybody have anything else that's on their heart to share as we get ready to wrap up?
Let me share. I just really quick. So it's in my spirit, in my heart, to just tell everybody that I love everyone for showing up. I am in gratitude for everybody just here and exchanging the words and how people showed up today and just spoke. I think everybody can see that it's divine. This is no coincidence that you are here. You are, like you said earlier, you are chosen. Stay connected to the work. Connect with God, connect spiritually, connect with yourself. This is a daily journey. So find your routines, find what works for you, but stay connected. And I just wanted to just say thank you, really thank you. And I love all of you for being here, just, and just being you. So that's all.
This has been a warm container for you, for us.
Yeah.
We talk about it often, like that. We just really look forward to to connecting with you all, in this way.
Yeah.
Like it's been really impactful for us too. So
yeah.
Giving thanks. Any other comments before we part and go into our closing affirmation? Oh, and we have to queue up Marvin Sapp because
right.
yes,
Right.
we've got to queue that up.
Right.
Dave, we got to get that going. For sure. We'll queue that up. Kavita.
Hi, everybody.
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing all right. I just wanted to say that I'm getting really comfortable with, I guess, the language of what we're talking about. I don't know what to call it because it's new every day. And I don't know, it's just really fun to just like see like the playful side of life in this aspect. I don't know. I just wanted to say that. Yeah, like it's not, I don't know, it's not scary anymore. It's not fearful. It's just fun now.
I love that. I love that. Wow.
I love that.
Thank you for
sharing that.
Wow. Yes.
Yeah, thank you for that, Kavita.
See, that's what I want the world to see. I want the world to feel. I talk to people so much about just that. Like, like I want the world to heal and just see it in that lens.
Yeah, or even just believe in the ability to heal. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you for that, Kavita. We love having you a part of this too.
Yes.
Love having every person that's a part of this connected. I'm telling you, it's divine, right? It's none of it is by chance that we've been brought together.
Yes.
And Melinda said to Kavita here, I love that for you.
Right.
That's beautiful. Alicia. Hey, sis.
Thanks, everyone. I haven't said much because it's so much to unpack. And each week is not a different transition, but just a connection to another. It's like a train. That's what I envision. And each cart has its own thing. So I'm like in this cart, and then the following week, I'm in another cart. And it's just so much to unpack. But with all that said, this week was a lot for me. A lot of checking myself. And I tried my best. Well, I can't say I tried. I did go on a word fast as best as I can. And I was tested a
Mm.
lot. I was tested up to 1, 2, 3 o'clock this morning. I was tested. But with that, I came out of it as I see the growth. I'm happy with my choice of words, my tone. I have a lot of words that I need to purge. I noticed that this week too. I had myself revisit a while ago when my daughter said to me, Mom, you never used to curse. And now you curse. So I had to deal with that. A lot of stuff I had to deal with. That words is also body language, like to the brother earlier that said that I think he said words or speaking is like 20% of communication. And that resonated with me because it's the truth. Body language, all that goes together hand in hand. But it has been an elevating, powerful week for me. I'm still unpacking a lot. I'm processing. And last but not least, I just hope at the next stop that my husband gets on a train with me.
Ashe. Ashe. I receive that.
Yes, yes, yes. Thank you for sharing. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks for that, Alicia. And I give thanks for your awareness, for your patience, for your ability to hold space, for you finding compassion for yourself, through all of this. And really and truly holding a space beside you for your husband. I got to tell you, it resonates with me when you share that, because James and I did not journey together at the same pace either. You know what I mean? James went into even exploring his own spirituality, maybe even almost a year. It was like a year later.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so there was a long period of holding space, right? But just really reminding myself and really getting clear about on a daily basis, if I really believe my intuition, when my intuition is telling me that there is beauty in this experience that's loading. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that to say that that's something we have to do in every relationship, because there are definitely relationships I walked away from. You know what I mean? But I followed my instincts with those too, and I wasn't wrong. That those relationships, they had their season, and then the season passed. You know what I mean? And I transitioned with the lesson, but I knew it felt different with James. You know what I mean? And I knew that just inside, that I knew that there was more, not only to him, but to us and our union. You know what I mean? And so it touches my heart when you speak about that so much, because like I said, I ascended even with Sacred Woman in 2021, and James ascended the next year. The next year, you know? So yeah, it's been a journey. So give thanks. And you are holding the family down, okay? In terms of remaining connected to spirit, the spirit within you and the Most High. You are covering your family. You are a healer. And just like you expressed how your daughter is watching you and teaching you what she's experiencing of you, she's going to experience these layers too.
Yes.
And everybody else's too. And then your growth, whether it's spoken or unspoken, is going to be the thing that pulls them in. So I love you. Oh my goodness. Like that touched me.
No, that was beautiful. Brother AJ said, heal. So we don't have another generation of trauma passing itself off as culture. Love that. Love that word, brother AJ. Thank you for that word.
That's deep.
Yeah.
So we don't have another generation of trauma
Passing
itself off
as
as
culture.
That could be another hour.
Right.
We can talk about that. Like that is, oh my goodness.
Right.
That's profound.
I love that. And Brother Seven's not on the call today, but he has something he always says, healing is gangster. And I love that for the culture now that's looking at, gangster, healing is gangster, you know? So
and Tosh said, beautiful share, Alicia.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you for your vulnerability, sis.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
Okay. We're queuing up, number one, over here. So let me just pause. We're queuing up, and Dave, feel free to unmute and sing along, right? Like anybody, feel free to unmute and sing along. But we're gonna get to our affirmation. Let's see, here we are. Okay. So feel free to unmute so that we can speak this and call and repeat. Okay.
All right. I am grateful for the insights gained.
I am grateful.
I am grateful for the insights
Insights
gained.
gained.
I carry the strength of our community with me.
I
carry
carry
the strength of my community with me.
With me.
I continue my journey with love and purpose.
I continue my journey with love and purpose.
Love and purpose.
Till we meet again in gratitude and growth.
Till we meet again in gratitude.
Gratitude
Growth.
and growth.
Amen.
Good. So it is.
Stop sharing here so that we can share the song that Dave planted the seed of in our hearts today. Let me just get back to, here we go. Here we go.
You found it?
Yep, we got it here. There we go.
There we go.
Okay.
Wow.
Thank you for planting that seed, Brother Dave.
Yes.
We appreciate you. Thank you for being here.
God
Thank you
bless.
for being here today. Yes. Okay. Until we meet again next Sunday.
Yes.
All right.
Blessings.
Journey in
Blessings.
grace and in blessings. Love you all.
Love you all.
Love.
Okay. It's beautiful.